friends. Welcome to Race to Rise podcast, a place where we discuss bite-sized wisdom nuggets with easy-to-follow practices to live a better life. I am your host, Mital Patel, a parenting junkie, Ayurveda enthusiast, and an advocate of conscious living. Honestly, I don't know what's going to be the situation by the time this episode releases. A few days ago, we found out my mom is COVID positive. And so we're all self-quarantining. We're all in the small space since we just recently moved and our house is smaller than what we're used to living. So now we're all in each other's space. I have a 4-year-old, 11-year-old, my mom, my dad, my mother-in-law, and my husband and me. And so we're all in the small space 24/7. Of course, everything is clashing. Everybody's clashing, especially around my 4-year-old. So today I wanted to share this that I ended up asking out loud, and then I caught myself. I said, why doesn't my child listen to me? Now, yes, we're all somehow plagued by this question. I happened to said this question out loud in my head and at the same time caught myself like, wow, I just said this out loud. This question is so designed. It's designed for reactivity and impulsivity. And so I had to step back, go back and, just chill, just pause and reflect. Why is my child not listening? And of course, it wasn't about my child. Of course, there was something that I wasn't able to see it. And I had many explanations why this is happening. But again, I wanted to dissect this so I can share what exactly goes when we say this question in our head, like, why doesn't my child listen to me? It actually seduces us to believe that the pain is coming from the other party. So the other party here is the child, and therefore we have to go fix the other in order to take the pain away. Such a faulty belief system, as Dr. Shefali says. So I learned how to break this down from Dr. Shefali, and I really wanted to share today because today I had that moment, like I really had to just sit, it's like, oh my gosh, I had to pause. I had to take a deep breath and just reflect back on this, like what's going on. I had to turn to my notebook and flip these pages and come down to what Dr. Shefali teaches and how to break this down, how to break this question down, like, why isn't my child listening to me? Because this time I knew that it's far more, and I could see that it's not his fault, but at the same time I just didn't, because I've never been in such situation where everybody's in each other's faces, and I wanted to see what's underneath the behavior. I wanted to see what's underneath the iceberg, and how can I support my child? How can I coach my child? Again, that's another topic that we parents are not their friends, but we want to really be their guide, and we're not the owner of our kids either. That's another thing. But today let's look into how to break this down further. So we'll break this question in 3 parts. So why my child does not listen to me. So first, why? Whenever we say why, it automatically implies resistance of some sort. If that why is coming from another party, like let's say your coach or a mentor, then it will make you, if it's coming from that intention, then it will make you reflect. But if you're asking like from a perspective where you think that person is a problem, then this why just automatically goes in the category of resistance. And so we're not ready to accept that. And what happens in this that we're asking? So when we ask why, we, in the sense we parents, are actually not ready to accept that the reality is the way it is. It is what it is, right? But we really want to change it. So we pose this resistance through some form of a question. And so this form comes across as why my child doesn't listen to me. Okay. Now let's break into the second part, my child. When we say, if we said why doesn't listen to me, that's a different thing, different question. But when we say why my child is not listening to me, two different things. Here we think that the child holds the power to change things, and so should be given the responsibility to do so, right? And we think that we actually see the child here is seen as the problem and the solution at the same time. Now, we ended up saying, when we say my child, the belief system goes here that the child needs to change. The child needs to get fixed. That's where this comes up. When we say does not listen to me, so we're looking at the third part of the question. Here we are actually seeking compliance. When we desire that our child should listen to us, we actually desire for compliance. We desire for obedience. We seek for, compliance, cooperation. But little do we realize that this very compliance we're seeking to obtain through our children is the very compliance that will work against them in their adult life, says Dr. Shefali. She always says, our children really need to practice in saying no to us as parents so they can learn this ability to be assertive, which will allow them to say no to authority figures or to peer pressure when it's necessary, right? So we really need to look out for what actually we're desiring. So it's about, instead of seeking compliance, we need to seek authenticity. Instead of seeking blind obedience, we need to seek assertiveness. Instead of seeking, dogmatism just to follow as I say, or, we need to seek to listen. We need to attune and connect with our children, right? So we really need to allow and give our children the space for them to be in their zone. So we really need to be in flow with our child, first of all. Then we really need to allow our children to feel like they have power and choice over their lives, as long as it's safe, right? As long as it's okay to do that in that moment. Because this is the time when we can teach them and train them and, support them to get ready for tomorrow. And then again, we also need to connect to what our children feel and need below the iceberg. So the behavior, don't look at the behavior. Behavior seems like the child is not listening, but make sure you connect to what's underneath the iceberg, what's underneath the behavior. Is there a need or some sort of feeling that's not met? And also ensure that all the essentials are covered. Like, do they have enough food, the rest, are they tired? Whatever the case is, make sure the essentials are covered. Are they feeling safe? Right? So again, why I wanted to break this question why, because it just happened that because we're all quarantining and everybody is in the same space, of course separated, but still we're in same space. We can't go outside, no outside walk again. The schools are virtual, and so they haven't seen their friends. So it's hard. It's really hard. And so as soon as I got chance to reflect on these things, I went back to my son, and I ended up witnessing where he was about to throw something. I mean, it's not funny, but it is funny. Sometimes kids are I had to go in between, in between their sibling rivalry so that I could ensure that both of the children are safe, including, and actually three, their father too. I had to make sure that he's safe as well, because there was some real war going on when I ended up in the living room. Anyway, so the point is, the 4-year-old really he was just overstimulated. He was just so tired because he wasn't feeling good. And so it was that internally, he wasn't feeling good. And I really had to, that's why he was just so angry, and he wanted something and he didn't get it, and it was just all over the place. So I had to go in between their war zone, and I had to take what he had in his hand, put that away. Daddy took all the toys away so that we just don't have any objects to throw at each other, and we're safe. And at the end, I had to have a conversation with him, okay, I see you. Are you having a hard time? Are you not feeling good? He does communicate really well, but it's just in the hard moments, it's important for us to parents to ask them questions in a way they're not what happened? Why are you doing this kind of questions, right? You need to ask them are you okay? Is something hurting? Small questions. Don't ask open-ended question when during the heat of the moment. It's not necessary to ask unless they're calm and they are all, they have everything together. Then you can go for, okay, tell me what happened kind of questions. But during the heat of the moment, you want to make sure that the child is safe. So I ended up comforting him and asking, and then he said, I just don't feel good right now. He ended up telling me that I just don't feel good right now. It was that easy. It wasn't that why my child is not listening. It was because he wasn't feeling good inside. He wasn't feeling like him. And so I had to take him and I had to put him to sleep. So at 7 p.m., well, actually before 7 p.m., he was all bed. He was in bed and he was all good and resting. So just the moral of the story is sometimes it's not about why my child is not listening. Rather, it's about looking underneath the behavior and just breaking it down, what's happening. So again, 4 rules to handle the situation. Number 1, first of all, flow with your child and allow them the space to be in their zone as long as it's safe to do so. Then ensure you allow them to feel like they have the power and the choice over their lives. So, if they're not feeling good, give them, open up that conversation so they can share what's going on, and then connect to your children's feel and the need below the surfaces, below what's seen as behavior. And then, of course, make sure all the essentials are covered. Like, are they tired? Do they need a, nap? Are they hungry? Do they need to hydrate? Are they feeling safe? Things like that. So hopefully this helped. And also, we really need to learn how to mind the gap. Whenever these heat of the moment happen, and instead of asking, why are you not listening to me, to the child, or even to ourselves, what we can do as a parents, like this was all about, like, helping the child, and of course reflecting on what's happening and looking under the iceberg. But also, what can we do? Name the feeling and feel the feelings as opposed to reacting to them. So if I am feeling like really, agitated by him not listening, I want to ask myself, like, okay, what is happening internally for me, instead of me just yelling or ended up screaming, which by the way happens, because again, we're all humans. So sometimes it just happens. Okay. And in that time, you can always go back and do the repair, but also practice that it doesn't happen again and again. The second thing is, like, how now once you handle once you self-regulate, once you look at their needs and you meet their essentials, then you can, just to teach them a lesson, you can use role playing, you can use humor, you can use the mindful, pausing, breathing in, or using games or creativity, so that you can teach them whatever the lesson needs to be taught in that moment. I hope this breaking down of why my child does not listen to me helped you today. And I hope next time when you hear yourself saying this out loud, why my child doesn't listen to me, or why are you not listening to me, you'll be able to realize that it's not that your child is the problem, and it's not about fixing your child. Rather, it's about looking at the needs, and rather looking at what's underneath the behavior, what's underneath the surface, and meeting the need and connecting with the child. Of course, all that can happen only after you self-regulate yourself, so you don't end up reacting. Hope this helps. That's it for this week's episode of Race to Rise. Be sure to sign up to our email list at risewithmittal.com and join us again next time for more wisdom about life, kids, and everything in between. I am Mittal Patel, wishing you happy raising and rising.